Hi guys and welcome to the Warhammer Lady. As you can see, I have acquired horns. Granted, they might look like cat ears, but they are horns. I thought it was more fitting than the angel in the background. Today I'm going to go through the Warlord traits because I didn't have time in my video to do that yesterday, and I'm also going to go through the psychic powers of the demons. Then I'm going to make a second video about greater demons. So, let's get started. We have Death Incarnate. This is the Warlord's melee weapon have the instant death special rule. This is great. I can't wait for this to happen for, say, a Tench Herald who is super bad in close combat just to kill off things. We have Immortal Commander. So all your friendly units from this codex within 12 inches of the Warlord may reroll failed demonic instability tests. So this is a way for you to actually not be banished if your Warlord is close by. Destroyer of Mortals. The Warlord and his units have the Hatred special rule. This is great. Lord of Unreality. Whilst the Warlord is alive, you can reroll results on the Warp Storm table. And this was the table we went through yesterday. Herald of Doom. Whilst the Warlord is alive, all enemy units have a -1 penalty to their leadership for taking fear tests. Scare them away! Warp Beacon. This works exactly as a teleporter homer. So that your Warlord, if he was on the board from the beginning, then your friendly units can deep strike 6 inches close to him and not scatter. So these were the Warlord traits, and now we're moving on to psychic powers. Let's start out with the special rule Warp Flame, because all of the psychic powers from the discipline have it, including Flamers, their attacks, and the attacks from the Burning Chariot of Tench. Now, what Warp Flame does is that at the end of each phase, if a unit has suffered 1 or more wounds from an attack with this special rule or a model with this special rule, they have to take a toughness test. If the test is failed, they take D3 wounds with no saves allowed, cover saves or armor saves. So this sounds like fun, yeah? If the test is succeeded, however, the entire unit gets Feel No Pain 6+. So potentially you can give your opponent a Feel No Pain, the Feel No Pain special rule for the rest of the game. If the unit already has Feel No Pain, it gets a +1. So Feel No Pain 6+ becomes 5+. When I first read this, I thought, oh my god, this is bullshit. They really hate Flamers. But then again, I thought about it and okay, Feel No Pain on a 6+, that's not very much. And this again comes down to that you have to be more tactical with your units when you play demons now. So don't go flaming and, into Terminators, for example, because they have high toughness. Go for guys with lower toughness that won't, succeed with their toughness tests as often. It's just down to basic logic when you shoot at things. Okay? Moving on then. The Primaris power of the Discipline of Change. It's called Flickering Fire of Tench. And it's a witch fire. It has range 24 inches, strength 5, AP 4, assault 2, D6. And this is special because you can choose to spend 1 to 3 warp charges on this attack. If you take 1 warp charge, then it's 2d6. If you take 2, then it's 2d6 plus 1d6, so 3d6. And if you have 3 warp charges, then it's 4d6 attacks. They also have Soul Blaze and of course Warp Flame. So it can potentially be an awesome attack with lots and lots and lots of attacks, but it could also potentially be no attacks at all. Okay? Another psychic power is the Tench Firestorm. It's 1 warp charge, and it's a witch fire power as well, with the 24-inch range, strength of D6 plus 1, so a minimum of 2. No AP, assault 1, blast, and warp flame. Again, this is an attack that can be potentially awful and potentially really good. It could have strength 7 if you're lucky. Bolt of Change. It's 1 warp charge, 24-inch range, a strength of d6 plus 4, so always a minimum of 5, and a maximum of 10 if you're lucky. It has AP2, Assault 1, and Warp Flame. So it's basically real good for lightly armored vehicles, for example. If you're lucky with your strength roll, that is. And then there's the Infernal Gateway. This has warp charges too. It's an 18-inch range with strength d6 plus 4, so again a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10. AP1, Assault 1, Blast, and Warp Flame. As you can see throughout these powers, they are very changing. And they've fitted it in very well with the lore. All of the psychic powers with Zench are always, in a manner of speaking, changing. They have a number of attacks, depending on d6s. They have strength, depending on d6s, and so forth. So even though it might sound horrible, I think it's really fun, and all of the attacks have the potential to be really, really awesome. Discipline of Plague. This is Nurgle, of course. The Primaris power, the Stream of Corruption. 1 warp charge. It's a Witchfire with a template range. No strength, AP3, Assault 1, and a Poison 4+. So you always wound on a 4+ with a fire template, and you can kill off Space Marines. Brilliant! Plague Wind. Warp charge of 1. It's a Witchfire power as well, and no effect on vehicles. Noteworthy. It's a 12-inch range, a Strength 1, AP2, Assault 1, Large Blast, and again, Poison 4+. Feels nerdly, doesn't it? Miasma of Pestilence, it's a warp charge of 1. It is a blessing, so remember to always use it in the movement phase of your Psyker, not in the shooting phase. And at the start of each fight subphase, you roll a d3. And then all the enemy units in close combat with your Psyker or his unit, they get that result for their weapon skill and initiative. So a 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is awesome. You could potentially just make close combat guys really awful. And this effect, it stays in effect until the blessing is worn off, and that's your next turn. Then we have Rancid Visitations. 2 warp charges. It's a Nova power with a range of 12 inches, so a big circle, basically. And each target unit must pass a toughness test or suffer a wound with no armor or cover save allowed. It begins very nicely. If a model is slain this way, by not succeeding its toughness test, then you rinse and repeat, basically. The effect goes over again, so the unit has to take a new toughness test. Again, if a model is slain this way by not succeeding its toughness test, you do it again, and again, and again, until the toughness test is actually passed. So this could be potentially awesome, and it feels so nurgly. It's like a disease is just spreading through the ranks, and people are just falling down and dying, and I think it's brilliant. So yes, this was the Discipline of Plague. Discipline of Excess is of course the Discipline of Slaanesh. The Primaris power is called Lash of Slaanesh, and it is 1 warp charge. It's a beam of 24-inch range, strength 6, no AP, but assault 1 and rending. Since it's a beam, it will be basically 3 really good attacks and 3 not so good attacks, because it will decrease in strength per model that you hit, not per unit. But it is still quite good. The second one is called Acquiescence. I have no idea how to pronounce this, so I'm going to say Acquiescence. It's a malediction, and you target a enemy unit within 18 inches, and that unit, they don't test for anything, this just happens. They suffer a -5 penalty to their initiative, and they cannot counterattack or fire Overwatch while this power is in effect, and this lasts until the beginning of your next movement turn. So this is a really great psychic power to put on a unit if you, for example, are going to charge with your bloodletters or so forth, giving them a high, well, not a high, but giving them an advantage when it comes to the initiative step. Pavane of Slaanesh, it's a warp charge of 1, and it's a focus Witchfire power. It has a range of 24 inches, and If you roll a 5 or less because it's focus, your target is the one that you picked out. If not, it's a random target in the unit. That target will take a leadership test. If it fails, it will suffer a wound with no armor or cover save allowed. And if a model is slain this way, then this process will repeat itself for random targets in the unit until the leadership test is passed. Then we have Cacophonic Choir. It's 2 warp charges, and it's a Nova power with 12-inch range. Each target unit must roll 2d6, and then subtract their leadership, and the difference that's left is the number of wound that this unit will suffer. Armor and cover saves are not allowed, and even if there are no wounds, when this effect is resolved, the unit must take a pinning test. So these were the disciplines of Chaos. And now I actually have a question for you. I haven't been very, this is a good power, this is a bad power, you know. I can understand the discipline of change and the discipline of plague because I usually go up against guardsmen and Tau and archangels. But those are the only real opponents that I have. So for discipline of excess, I'm not sure how best to use it. So I'm asking you guys now, if you play another army, or if you play against other armies, can't you give me an example? For example, say when one of these powers are at its best, so that I know for future reference. Other than that, I think they capture the essence of the gods in their psychic powers. And remember, before you go all nerd rage and going, oh, this is so awesome, insane powers, remember that these are psychic powers. They can be denied on a roll of a 6, most of them anyway, and it all boils down to your leadership. Okay? So it's not an automatic success. Always remember that. This was the end of this video. If you have any comments, leave them, and otherwise stay tuned for my next video about Greater Demons. Bye!